everyone. Today we're going to make this resurrection theme cardstock shadow box. You just light it with some LED string lights, and this shadow box contains a hole in the back that you can put your string lights through. So let's get started. So this piece right here will be the box of the casing that we're going to put inside of our shadow box. So we're just going to go ahead and grab this piece along with all of these other pieces here. I have these pieces all shown in layers. These are actually going to go inside of the base piece here, sort of like this once we have them all together. So let's start with these pieces first. I have them in order, so you're going to have the tan on top, then you're going to have the green, the brown, the dark yellow, and the yellow, and then you're going to have your vellum to help distribute the light, or diffuse the light when you have your LED lights behind it, so that they're not too hot and make like bright spots. So I do want to note here that these openings right here, they're only in the last two layers, so they're in this layer here and in this layer here. So that's so that it can have like a hidden effect when we put the light behind it. So you're only going to see that when you actually have your lights at night illuminating the box. Okay, so now let's glue all these in order. Put these back in order. And I'm just going to put the vellum to the side for now. And I'll just put the yellow down and then flip these over so they'll be in order so we can glue them. And you don't need a lot of glue. I just put very light layer. And the best way to line up these pieces exact, the quickest way, is to actually line them up by the center knockout area. So I'll just grab the center there with my fingers and it lines up perfectly. Make sure all your little windows here for the city are knocked out. They're all lined up. Next we'll do the little brown layer, just a little bit of glue on the city and just teeny dabs on the crosses so we have less glue to clean up. Again, line it up from the center here is the easiest. Make sure our city is lined up really well. We have our hill going up to the crosses, and then we have this piece here. Oops. And you know this piece is on the proper side when you see all the score lines. They go around this center knockout area, plus there's a box here and a box here on the right and left. So that's the front, so you put the glue on the back. So those score lines will be used for location purposes later. Okay, so this is our last layer piece for this base insert section. So we've got all of those layered. And now we can flip it over and put our vellum on the back. You don't want a whole lot of glue for vellum because it actually makes it kind of buckle and curve up if you put a lot of glue on there. So just really light application and line this piece up. Okay, now we'll grab the back. I call it the base layer because this is what we're going to put everything in. So it just kind of folds into a box and it has these tabs on the end. So just fold on all the score lines, fold inward. And just make sure you fold on the score lines really well, and then it'll be easier to work with to make a nice square, box for you. It'll work easier for you. So to glue these together, we're going to put glue on the inside of the tab, because what we want to do, we don't want to put the tabs on the inside of the box because you'll be able to see it. So for a cleaner look, we're going to just put them on the outside of the box so they won't be seen. So just glue those to the outside sides and pull them together. And again, the better you have these scores folded on, the easier it is going to be to work for you to line up the sides. Okay, so now we have our box that we're going to place this inside of. So I'm just showing you here for placement wise how everything lines up, so you can see that it's got the city windows knocked out, and it also has this part here that's going to illuminate the cave, and then it's got the sun and everything. So we're just going to put glue on the back of this. I don't put any glue on this vellum in the center here. Just drop that in exact and everything will line up. You can see what it'll look like from the back. So these areas here, the sun, it'll now have light that comes through it. It'll actually be colored light, if you will. So it'll be yellow when you actually put your lights behind it. Okay. So next we're going to take this piece that goes inside of the Shadowbox casing. So this is going to form a 1/4 inch thick base all across the width of the Shadowbox down here. So you just want to go ahead and fold on all the score lines. I like to use the scraper tool to fold on some of these long ones. Okay, so now we're going to make a box. So we're going to put some glue on this tab here. I like to pull these tabs up a little bit because it's easier to get them to actually stick to the other side once you bring the sides together. And just gently press for a moment to let it adhere. And then glue these tabs inside. Okay. So you'll know that the difference between the top and the bottom, you know, both sides are the same, except you'll see a little box score line right in the left corner towards the front here. So that goes towards the front of your scene. So if your box is right here, you're actually going to put it in right like this. So with that in mind, we're going to put the glue on the bottom. Some on the sides and on the back. So we want to insert this in the bottom down here, but we want to make sure we're pressing on all sides when we do that. So first I'm going to put it in, push it all the way to the back so it's adhering to the background, and at the same time push it down onto the bottom of the casing. Here, make sure everything's nice and glued together. And then the sides that have glue, we're just gonna hold in on those for a moment. So that gives your base some structure and strength as well. Okay, so now we're going to move on to the elements that are going to fit in our casing. So first we're going to move on to the cave. So for that we're going to need these pieces here. So we have the stone that is rolled away, and this piece right here. So that you're going to see several of these pieces in the kit. So these are going to be little boxes with a tab at the end. And they have, of course, 4 score lines on them, so that we'll fold those into boxes, and those are going to be what we attach these pieces to add depth and positioning in each of the layers. So that dark gray one goes with the dark gray that matches the rock there. So first we're going to take this here, and you're going to see that on some of these pieces as well, there's score lines like on this light gray. There's a box here and another little box here. Again, those are for location pieces, so that when we glue these little square boxes, this is where we'll glue them and affix our other pieces that go with them. So I'm going to put a little bit of glue on the back of this rock detail, the dark gray. Just a little bit here and there, not everywhere. Be careful when we put this down. So just line up the outer edges and just drop it in place. We can clean up any extra glue. Okay, so now this piece right here is going to be the light box, if you will, for the cave. So you can see that it fits together just like this. So we're going to go ahead and glue this in place first. You can use the center knockout hole to kind of line these up better. And then match up the edges and it'll line up perfectly. Okay, and now you're going to see that there's a lot of score lines going all around this outer cut here. So we're just going to fold down all those score lines. So we've got two little tabs here. Then we'll just go around and fold in on all of these. So this is going to make a nice little light enclosure to be illuminated. Don't forget to fold in on all these little tabs on the side. Some of the pieces have little tabs on the side. Okay, make sure we got all the tabs. Okay, and then there's this last, these two here. These get to be a little bit tricky, but they're right here, right under that cutout. You'll see a little strip that you need to fold on. Just take your time with that one. And then the last one here is at the base of the cave. Just going to fold down. Okay. So now we're simply going to start with these tabs, these little kind of rectangle tabs that go around the perimeter here, and we're going to glue each of the sides together. Lining the corners up exactly so that it will all make the proper shape at the end. So just put a little bit of glue on those and tuck it right under the next side. Just make sure your corners are exactly lined up. Fold on this one. Okay, so next we're going to kind of fold it in like this so you'll see what it's going to look like. So this will be your encasing here. So what we're going to do first is to put a little bit of glue on the outside of these tabs here. And then glue those. Turn this front face in and then glue those to the bottom side. So you can see right in there, that's the tab we're gluing down. And then do the same with the other side. Okay, so now all we simply have to do to make the completed shape is to put a little bit of glue on each of these tabs here. And then just press down. Okay, so again, you'll see that you're going to be able to now to still see those boxes here and on the left here that we're going to use for indication markers later. And these two tabs we're actually going to use to help glue down this cave inside the box. And this is what it looks like from the back. Okay, so we're going to put this to the side for now. We're going to go ahead and put some glue on this rollaway stone layer. Again, make sure that you're putting the glue on the back, not on the side with the score line. So we'll need that score line later. And there's no real right direction to put it. You can kind of just put it anywhere in the center of the dark gray. And then we'll go ahead and take this dark gray matching piece, fold on all the score lines to make a box. And we'll put a little bit of glue on the tab. And form it into a little square box. And we'll set these to the side as well. Okay, next we'll move on to our rocks. So these are a little intricate. I couldn't help but add some intricate details, especially when we get to the flowers. Those are probably some of the smallest pieces, that and the dove, but I just thought that it would make a cute accent. So first we're going to start again, just like we did with the cave, we're going to put a little bit of glue on this dark gray detail. Glue it to the light gray. Lining up the outer edges is the easiest way with your fingers. And I added some little details with some little yellow blossoms, so that's what this layer is for. So we're gonna put the yellow on top next. Just a couple light dabs. Some people like to use tweezers that come with the Cricut set. If you want to, you could, for these small pieces. And then the green goes on last. Again, not very much glue at all. You don't want to have to clean up too much. Okay, so there, that one's complete, and it has a little matching box. It's the shorter one here, and you can tell because this bottom straight area here, it matches about the length of that. So I'm just going to form this little box. We'll move on to the next rock. Another tip, if you see that the tabs aren't quite adhering, you can also use your little pick to help with that. So this flower bends over this way. That's how you know it's the right direction. We have our yellow. We're actually going to put lilies at the end. At the very end, we'll add lilies right at the base of these flower stems. And again, this piece here is about the same length as this flat area. So we'll go ahead and make this box. Set those to the side. Next, we'll grab our lady, who's one of the first ones to see. On the third day, she arrived at the tomb and saw that Jesus wasn't there. So here's the order that it goes in. So each of these pieces are a little bit different and they just add depth to the character. So that's what each of these layers is for. And it also has a matching purple piece that we're going to use to affix that as well. So the tan goes on the bottom, so we'll just glue them in order. And again, these are easy to just line up the outside of the shape. And all the areas fall into place if you just put your fingers on the edges here. They just fall right into place. Okay, and the next one is the piece with this little area knocked out. And the little area with just the arm on there and the hair covering. So you can see with all the layers where it really starts to add some depth. And then the last brown piece on top. Clean up this extra glue. Okay, so now we'll put these to the side and grab our angel. So for the angel, these two pieces will go on last. So we have this, I used glitter for this area here. So the little white piece for the bottom of her dress goes on top, and so it'll actually make a little gold belt. So we'll do those last. And then we have these little pieces here, which are the wings and the hair. So we got the white one, and it goes like this here in this orientation. So this has the arm and the hair and the wing. And then this has the wing and the hair on it. And then again, the tan goes on the bottom, and then the white will go on top. So we'll glue those in order. Next is the white arm. Then the gold for the hair and the wings. And next, we'll put some glue on the back of the white. Glue it to the gold. And then we'll glue the gold to the angel. There we are. And now she has a little piece too. I'll show you when it's done here. I want to fold it and put it together where we'll put that. So it'll end up actually fitting right in this body area here once we get to this part where we actually glue it in place. So that's how that's going to work. So for now we're just going to set these to the side, and we're going to grab our tree. So our tree has different layers, again, for depth. So we have our green leaves, which are going to go down first, and then the 3 tree trunk and branches pieces, they're going to go in this order here. So the one with the most will go down first, then this one, and then the least amount of branches will go on last. So we'll go ahead and put those in order. Put some glue on the back of this brown first, just a tab on the branches. Of course, you'll see the side is cut off because that's the way the scene works in the Shadowbox. Kind of cuts off at the edge of the Shadowbox. I used a little too much glue, so I've got to clean off some. Again, so these layers give it a nice whimsical look, a little thickness to the tree. Okay, and the piece that goes with this support piece, it's actually going to go right in this area here. So it's the dark brown box. Okay, so now we'll put the tree to the side, and we'll grab all the pieces that go with the He is Risen post. So you'll see that it's got a little dove on here. Those are probably some of the smallest pieces of the project. So we've got the wing, and we've got the yellow for the beak, next white layer there. We've got the pieces for the ribbon. And we've got 2 pieces here for the actual post itself. And we've got the base support piece here. So we've got 4 layered pieces for the He is Risen banner. So they go in this order here with the solid white, then the purple, gold, and He is Risen on top. And then we've got this small little piece here for the dove. So they'll go in that order. The wing will go on last, so kind of like that. So first we'll start with this piece here. You'll notice the front of this piece has 2 little score lines. That's just to help for position placement when we put this He Is Risen banner on there. That's kind of what that's for. So they're just kind of vertical, slanted vertical or horizontal there. So we're just going to put a little bit of glue on the back of this detail piece. Okay. Next we'll do our banner. So we're not going to put any glue on the ribbon part at this time. We are going to put a little bit of glue under these little parts of the gold here. Just to fix those to the ribbon. And our last white piece on top. You don't have to put any glue on the dove, just on the banner part. Okay, got a little bit too much glue there. Okay, so we'll go ahead and work on our dove now. So we're gonna put a little bit of glue on this piece, white piece. Just a couple little drops, not much. And then glue this together, make sure that your little nose, your little beak is seen. Nose. I know you can barely see it, but I had to add that detail. And then this little white piece here. Line up the head and the tail. Now take your wing. So you'll see on the wing, there's a little score line down here when it's pointed this direction towards the left. So you're just going to fold up on that little bit of score line. This is going to give you just a little bit of area to glue it down so that it pops out. So just put a little bit of glue on there. And then just place it kind of at an angle on the bird, like this. Kind of lining up with the body shape. And if you need to, just use your little weeding tool, place it down, and it'll stick out. Okay. So now we're just going to put a little bit of glue on this base piece here in the dove area. A little too much. And then put this dove in place. we are. So next we're going to just put a little bit of glue here. So again, your post should be in this orientation with the score lines going, you know, in this direction, going upward in this direction. And we're going to use those for placement. So we've only put glue right in between those score lines. And then we're just going to glue this in place. And you know you're in the right location according to width that lines up with the post when this little dove's nose touches the post. It's right at the post. Okay, so that's all done. We'll put that to the side and we'll go ahead and make the box. Okay, and lastly for the inside elements, we have the little flowers. It was tricky to add these little flowers because I didn't want to make them too small that they wouldn't cut. So I tried to design them so they'd be easy to cut, but once I saw, you know, that I added them on there, I couldn't not include them in the project because they added so much detail. So you have 5 of these shapes here for the leaves. And you'll notice you have, you know, 6 little pointed out areas. 3 of those are actually for the green leaves, but then you also have these more narrow rounded shapes here. And that's where we're gonna line up one of these sets of the white leaves, just like that. So your lily actually consists of, you know, 3 leaves and 2 layers of these white petals. So you should have 10 of those all together. You know, 5 of the green, 5 white for the bottom layer, and 5 white for the top layer. So I like to add a little bit of detail. So I'm going to take 5 of these and just put a little yellow dot with my marker, just for a little yellow center. Kind of ties in all the yellow in the project. Okay, so now we're just gonna take the ones without the dot and just put a little bit of glue, whatever way you want to do it, if you want to put it on the green or if you want to put it on the back of the white. And then just glue those together. Probably easier just to put it on the white, just little dabs. So these little lilies mimic the larger one that's actually on the outside of the Shadowbox, which has much more detail than these. Okay, so now to complete the lilies, we just need to add on this next layer. So if you prefer, you don't have to. If you don't want to, here's what the lily would look like. It's just, you know, flat, but you just alternate the leaves so that you see the green leaves and you see the white petals coming through. So it would look like that, but I like to add a little bit of depth, so I just bend up on these leaves and then just place a little bit of dab of glue. And then put these in place, alternating the petals. And you can use your little weeding tool to help with location. Pressing down. Again, you could use your tweezers too if it helps with locating those little petals. I think these lilies are my favorite part of the project, or one of my favorite. Okay, so now we've got all these pieces glued together and assembled. So now we can actually put these inside of the casing of the shadow box. So we're going to put the cave to the side for now, because we have to put a few other things in first before we can easily put in the cave. So we're going to grab our He is Risen post and our tree. We're going to put these lilies to the side. Those will be the very last thing we add on. So what we're going to do is put on our tree first, and of course you'll see that it fits in like that with the cut off side just right here on the edge. So you'll find that little box or rectangle shaped score line, and you'll just add a little bit of glue there, and then you'll put your box in place. And then you'll put a little bit of glue on your box, and then you'll add your tree right down the center so that the tree lines up right at the base, touching this base here. Okay, just like that. And we'll do the same kind of thing on the other side with the post. So we're going to put glue right in this box over here that's indicated by the score line. And then we'll add our post in there, our support box right in place. And next we'll put some glue on the post. And now we'll put the post right here. making sure we line up the bottom with the base on the Shadowbox. So just like that. And you'll see this ribbon here is cut off so that we can actually put our cave in there. Okay, so next is our cave. So you'll see that you have your knockout for the light to come through, but you also have this score line here that goes around the outer edge of that knockout. So that is going to be for placement of your cave box support piece. So we're just going to put glue right up to that score line that you see, or you could actually put it on the back of your cave support piece too, like right here if you wanted to, but this makes it easier so that you know you're only putting your cave right in the right spot where the glue is. Put a little bit down here. And then on the cave itself, the support piece, we're going to put some down here and also a little bit on these tabs here. And then we'll go ahead and put it in place. So you might want to slant your box. It's going to be easier to do that this way so that you can see that your box is lining right up. You might have to pull it over and line it up with the score lines a little bit. Just exactly, and you can see that they line up there in the back. Push your base down, the bottom of the cave down to the base, and then these little tabs here. You can actually use this little tool to fix those to the bottom. So it helps it stay nice and sturdy and straight. Okay. So next we're gonna add our rolling stone. So we're gonna, right here where you see that score line rectangle box, you're gonna put a little bit of glue in there. And now we're gonna add this matching dark gray support piece. And next, this is important here for placement. So we have our stone, and you see on the light gray area that there is a score line with a rectangle box. We're going to make sure that that's pointed downward so that there's more space above that box than at the bottom. So we're going to add a little bit of glue. Here our stone now. Just in the center is fine. So you can actually, this score line that you see on the front, the score rectangle box, you can actually kind of line those up. Just like that. We're actually almost done with the inside. So next we're going to find this little score line rectangle over here on the right hand side of the cave. It's in the light gray, and we're going to grab our little angel box and put a little bit of glue on that area. Glue our white box support in place. And now, as I mentioned before, we're going to just put that box. You can kind of angle it any way you want on here, but we're going to make sure that the support falls in this area here. So we'll just add a little bit of glue. Kind of angle her however you want on there. Now we'll add Mary. So this score line box here, we're just going to put some glue in here. Add our purple box. And then put some glue on and add our figure. And again, you want to make sure that she touches the very base. Like that. Okay, so now we have to add our stones. For the stones, we're going to work this a little bit different. We're just going to go ahead and glue the supports onto the back. So we're just going to put a little bit of glue here. Put those right in the center of the stone, aligning it with the bottom. So your box is going to be flush with the bottom of the rocks. Flip this over, do the same thing. Just center it in the width, but align it with the bottom. Okay, so now we're going to take some glue and place it on the bottom of the support. And for the small stone that's on the left, this is where you're going to use that little placement guide, that little rectangle scoreline box, and just place it in that area. You can use your little weeding tool to get down in there, glue that in place. And put a little bit of glue on the base of this one and the back, the bottom and the back. And then just press this up against the cave and push it down onto the bottom of the base. There we are. Now for our lilies. So we have 5 of these to place. You can kind of place them wherever you want, but I've kind of chosen my favorite spots. So I'll put one here, one in here, and one here. If you put one up here, just make sure that it doesn't cover your letters. And then the last 2, I'm going to put 2 this last tree over here, or plant. Okay, so now we have the completed insert with all of our elements. So next we're going to move on to the actual shadow box. Okay, so now we're going to put together our shadow box. It has the bottom and the top lid, plus it has some embellishments for the top. Let me just show you again here. So we're going to have the lily, and then we're going to have the border, plus the top of the shadow box, and then we're going to have the base as well. Okay, so first we're going to start with these pieces here, kind of funny looking pieces. So you'll have 2 of each of these shapes, and you'll notice there are horizontal score lines going across, you know, each of them. So we're just going to bend on all of those lines. And I'm going to use my scraper tool to help me to fold on those lines. Just so I get a nice, easy, clean box to work with. It makes a difference when you're putting the whole thing together. Okay, and then we'll take these two shapes, and these have additional folds, which are these tabs on the side. And our final side. Okay, so we're gonna grab these sides, put the like pieces together so we keep them straight. Okay, and now we're gonna, we should have two of these pieces here. And these are gonna be the bottom of the shadow box. You could tell because it's got this little cutout here for the light string to go through. Again, you don't have to light this up, but if you did, I made provisions for that. Okay, so we have this, we're going to just keep one of these. And what we're going to do is glue the long tab on each of these pieces. So these two shorter pieces will act with the two tabs on the sides. They're actually going to be oriented like this because the long tab is on the bottom. And then for these pieces here, they'll be oriented like this because the long tab is on the bottom this way. So you'll see that these pieces, the length of this piece here matches the length of your base of your shadow box size. So all we're going to do is put some glue on this tab down here. And then tuck it in to line up exactly with this piece on the fold line. So make sure your left and right lines up exactly, and then just push this piece up to the score line so that your tab will be underneath. Just like this. So we'll go ahead and put both long pieces on. Again, your glue goes on the inside of the tab. push it right up to the score line. And here's how it should look on the back now. You've got your two tabs lining up exactly with the edge of the base piece. Now we'll do our short side. Okay, so now we have all these sides on attached. So next step is we're going to roll all of these sides in, and those are what is going to create the sides of your shadow box. So these little tabs here on the short sides are going to actually fold in. I'll just show you how it's going to look here. Fold these tabs in. Keep popping out. So that's kind of just loosely to show you how it's all going to go together. All right. So we'll start with one corner at a time. So we're going to fold down the first tab here and put glue on it. And then we're going to place it underneath the corresponding side to form a corner. So we're placing it to the inside and just holding that for a few seconds to let it dry. Gluing that tab in place. Make sure you line up your corners exactly, that way you don't have any holes in the corner creases once you get it all together. Again, put some glue on the outside of the tab and pull it in. And the final corner. And we tuck them to the inside so that we have a nice clean look once the shadow box is completed. Okay, now that we have all of our sides together, our tabs glued in, now we can place glue all of our sides down that roll in. So the only place we're going to place glue is actually on the bottom tab here. I'm starting with one of the short sides. I like to push this out a little so it'll adhere better once I roll it under. So the tricky part about this that you just have to remember is to make sure that you get your sides rolled in completely so that this tab back is completely touching the edge of the Shadowbox. So just make sure that you press the bottom in completely so that it falls back and touches the edge here. So once you're sure of that, just push down a little bit and that tab will adhere to the bottom. So I'll do this short side first, and do this other short side. Again, making sure it goes completely back to touch the outside wall. Push down. And now complete the longer sides. And don't worry about any gaps in these edges here. We'll come back and make sure that those are all coming together. Okay. Okay, so the next piece we're going to put on is this cover piece here. So this is going to help us bring the edges or the corners together even better, kind of like this, and add some more support for the side walls. So all we need to do is just add glue to the top here. Make sure you get it out to the edges, the corners. So now we'll take this frame piece here and just lay it on top and then bring your corners into the piece to match up. Just go around each corner, do that. So it pulls everything in nice and tight. And adds a nice clean finished look. Okay, now we're going to flip this over to the back and we're going to add our matching piece that has this little knockout for the light cord. We're going to glue that to the back. Again, for some more support and to make them back look nice and cleaned up. So we're going to match up the holes. So now we have a completed base. So we can set that to the side for now. And And next we'll pull together the pieces for our top. So first thing, we're going to grab, well, first we'll actually just go ahead and fold down on all these score lines so we know the space we're dealing with. So we'll grab this top box piece, fold on all the score lines. Make sure they're all nice and easy to fold on. Fold in these tabs on the side. Okay. So now we can see the front that we're going to be working with. So we're going to take these two trim pieces here and just gonna glue the gold piece onto the top of the purple, but we're just gonna add little tabs of glue. We don't need very much at all. Now that with this having 2 rows of design, you're going to have to make sure that they line up with both the outer edge and the inside edge as you're laying this down. So just line up the corners, and it pretty much just falls into place, but just grab each corner and make sure that the design is lining up with the outside and the inside shape. When you have it in place, just push it down a little bit. Okay. Now we're going to glue that in place. We're just going to center it in this hole, knockout hole here. Left and right, top and bottom. And we're just going to glue it in place. And just don't press down until you have it in the spot that you want it. Now we'll flip it over and we'll add our, this is an optional piece here, but clear acetate. So that's going to go right on the center here. And I think the best way to do that is you can add some regular tape, you know, and just tape it to the inside on the corners if you want. I like to use this double-sided tape. Just put one piece on each corner. Probably, I assume use some hot glue or something, just little drops of it. I don't know, I've never tried that, but I just found that this tape works pretty good. So instead of dealing with glue, regular glue. So you have a little bit of extra room that you can just glue or tape that down. Okay, and now we'll go ahead and glue these sides together, putting the tabs to the inside. So a little bit easier than the bottom. Okay, so now we have our lid and we have our base complete. We've just got to add the lily on now. So I'm just going to put this in the top left corner. So for the lily, we're going to put the leaves on first. So this longer side here is going to go across the width, and we're just going to put it in this corner up here and line it up right with the border. Glue it right in this corner here. So first we're going to start with putting a little bit of glue here and just a little bit here because it overlaps. So we're just going to put it right on the middle strand there, and that'll be enough to hold it. Line it up right with this corner here. Okay. Then you can come back and add just a little bit here on the end. Not too much though, we don't want it to get on our window. Make a mess. Okay. And now we'll make our lily. So we'll grab this little leaf set and fold down on the score lines to give a little bit of curve to them. Okay, and then bend up on those, and those will fold in like this. Next, we're gonna take our petals and just fold in on those as well. And then with our scraper, we'll gently add some curl, placing the petal between our thumb and the scraper underneath. Just dragging those under. Just don't pull too hard. Don't want to pull it apart. And then do the same with this set. Okay, so now we're just going to add a dab of glue to the center of this petal set, and then we're going to alternate so it's like a third, because you're going to add your leaves in here, so you want to leave some room for the leaves. So the leaves will be right here. I want to position the other petals about right here. Just press down. Okay. And now we want to flip this over, put a dab of glue on the back, and then just place our stems on in the empty area. Okay. And for the final step for the lily, we're going to add the stamen to the center. So essentially all we're going to do is just roll this up really tight, but to add some curl to it, you got to be careful when you do this. Again, you don't want to tear off any of these little stems here. Just very lightly add some curl to it with your scraper tool, and that'll help it to just naturally roll. So you just want to roll it up kind of tight with your fingers. Just like that. Once you get it rolled up tight, just put a little bit of glue on the end here. Hold that for a second so it'll stay. And you can also come back in with your weeding tool and just pull out some of these. Give it a nice fuller look. Okay, so once that's glued together, now we'll just add a little bit of glue on the very bottom of it, or you can just add it to the center of your petal too. And then just put that in place. Give it a second to dry. And then you can fix the little stems if you want to as well. Okay, so once we have that together, now we're just going to place some glue right on the corner here. And then just position our flower the way we want it. Okay, so we have a completed lid with our base. So next I'll show you how I've put in the lights, so you'll be able to see how that looks. So I don't have the acetate in this one, just so it doesn't have any glare with the camera and everything, so you can see it better. But this is a Shadowbox that I've completed earlier. So you can see how the base fits in there exactly. So what we're going to do next is create this little border here. And I just wanted to show you how I've placed the lights in that border. So you can actually alternate them to wherever you need light the most. So in this case, our light is going to be, you know, in this area here, where the cave is. And it's going to be up here where the sun is, and then this little city here. So I tried to concentrate my lights, you know, mainly in that area. So it's pretty much up to you where you want to put your lights and which one of these little slits that you want to use in the holder to actually put your lights in. I will note that you can feel free to leave your lights out. Like this is actually a light nodule there. I didn't put it inside a slit, I just left it out, because I try not to put any of the lights inside the actual slits. So I try to just put the wire in there. I think this is a set of 30 that I got, but you could actually probably just use 10 or 15 if you if you wanted to for this, since it doesn't have a lot of areas to light up. So now I'll show you how to make the little spacer for the light bar that holds the wire. Okay, so you have these 4 pieces here, and these are, you are going to want to use your tool too to help bend on the fold lines. So you've got these 2 short pieces for the short side, and then the 2 longer pieces with these tabs at the end. So we're going to do these 2 short pieces first. So you're just going to fold on all 4 of the horizontal score lines, and you'll notice that in the middle and center there are little slits. Of course, don't fold on those. You're going to fold on the score lines on either side. Those slits are what you insert your light cords in. Okay, so I'm just going to fold on all these. You got to be careful when you get to the ones beside of the slits, because it wants to fold where the slits are, but it's not too hard just to get it to bend in the right place. So I'm going to loosely fold on all the score lines first. And I'll come back and make them better. Now to the bigger pieces, and just note that these additionally have these little tabs here on the side, and then out a little further there's these longer tabs, and this is going to be how we connect all of these side pieces together. Okay, and our final piece. now we're going to take and glue all these pieces together using the tabs, of course. Again, pull out on the tab a little bit, the tab side, and then add your glue, and that's going to help it adhere to the, to the other side. Just give that a moment to adhere. Do the same with these longer pieces. We're not going to do anything with these tabs quite yet. Okay, so now we're ready to glue all the pieces together. So very important to remember is that the strips, the little slits in each side go to the inside. So you just want to turn your pieces so that those slits are to the inside as you make your rectangle shape. And these little tabs on the long edges, they get pointed to the inside as well. So again, the short pieces, the slit side, that goes to the inside. And this is how it's all going to connect here. So we're going to take these tabs and glue it, put a little glue on the inside here and on the inside of this tab, and it's going to connect to this corner and hold this whole frame together. A little too much glue. So the one tab on the outer side goes on the outside, and the smaller tab goes on the inside. So put, again, glue on the inside of each tab. Just hold the corner until it adheres. Just a couple seconds. So now we've got our whole box, or frame together with the lights. So now we're going to actually glue this to the inside of this shadow box. So we're just going to put some glue. And no matter if you're putting lights in here or not, you still need this spacer so that your shadow box will set properly inside the box, because the depth was made to be used with this spacer. If not, it'll be a 1/4 inch, you know, inset, which is fine if you want. It just won't reach out the whole side. But so you can see how this light bar here, it clears this little hole here. All right, so then you would just add your string lights like I showed you a bit ago. So of course, when you add your string lights, you do want to remember to first put the end of your string cord through here, through this hole, and then pull all your lights through, and then start putting those into the holes. So again, when you're done, it'll look something like this, where you've pulled all your lights through this hole, and you've just inserted it into the slits as needed to illuminate the areas that you want to. So here we have, let's put this one, since it doesn't have the acetate, so it won't be too shiny, and you can see it all lit up. Okay. So here we have it lit up, the cave and the city, and then you can pretty much see it here with the daytime lights on, but we have the sun and we have the rays also that illuminate. So thank you so much for crafting with me. I hope you had fun, and I can't wait to do the next project with you. Have a blessed day. Thank you.